The transport ship Aurora Line drifted through the deep space lanes with a steady hum that filled every metal corridor. For most of the travelers, the long journey from the inner colonies to the edge of known space had become routine. The passengers slept read, or stared through the viewing ports at the distant stars that glimmered like cold diamonds. Among them sat Myra, a linguist from Earth. She had short dark hair, calm brown eyes, and a soft voice that carried the faint rhythm of an old Earth accent, one that few people recognized anymore. She was not a soldier or a trader. She was a researcher, a collector of voices and words from forgotten colonies. To her, language was more than communication. It was history written in sound. Her destination was Centronine, a massive orbital station that circled a dying sun on the edge of human-explored space. Built hundreds of years ago as a trade hub, the station had slowly faded from the maps as new routes and faster ships made it unnecessary. Only a few cargo vessels and independent travelers passed through now. Mira had chosen it because of an ancient record she had found on Earth. The file mentioned that Centronine once hosted the first voice recognition system ever made to interact with human settlers. The system had been described as learning from the voices of the first colonists. When the ship neared the station, the crew prepared for docking. The captain's voice came through the intercom, calm but tired. "Attention passengers. We are approaching Centronine. Please secure your belongings and follow standard disembarkation procedure." Myra gathered her small bag, checked her data tablet, and looked through the viewing window. The station appeared out of the dark like a giant metal ring with a glowing center. It looked old but strong, built from dark alloys that still reflected light from the nearby star. A faint golden glow came from the docking ports where energy shields kept the vacuum away as the ship connected to the station. A low vibration shook the deck. The airlock hissed, releasing a breath of stale, recycled air. The passengers began to step out one by one. Mira followed quietly, her curiosity growing with every step. The docking hall was large and empty. Long cables hung from the ceiling like vines in an abandoned forest. Automated drones floated in silence, scanning crates and luggage. A tall gate stood at the end of the hall, marked with faded letters that read Central Access Terminal. A robotic voice spoke from hidden speakers. "Welcome to Centronine. Please proceed to registration." The voice sounded flat, almost emotionless. Mira walked with the others toward a circular platform where a tall scanning pillar stood. Each traveler stepped onto the platform. The scanner glowed blue and said, "Identification confirmed. Access granted." When it was Mira's turn, she stepped onto the platform and waited. The scanner's light washed over her from head to toe. Then it spoke, "Please state your name for verification." She said softly, "Mira Ellen." For a moment, the light flickered. The machine stayed silent. The air around her felt heavy. Then the voice changed. It spoke again, but this time the tone was softer, almost human. "We have not heard that accent in ages." The words echoed through the hall. The other travelers stopped and turned toward her. Even the drones paused midair, as if waiting for something more. Mira looked up, confused. "What did you say?" The system did not answer. Its light dimmed and returned to its normal cold tone. "Identification confirmed. Access granted." The moment ended as quickly as it had begun. The other passengers moved again, whispering to each other. Some laughed quietly, thinking it was a glitch. But Myra felt uneasy. Machines did not speak like that, not after hundreds of years of service. She walked toward the exit, her thoughts circling the strange words. "We have not heard that accent in ages." It was not just a random phrase. The machine had recognized something outside the registration area. The main concourse stretched in long, curved corridors. The walls were lined with display panels showing outdated advertisements and flickering signs. Gravity felt slightly weaker here, making every step lighter. Mira followed the directions to the visitor quarters. On the way, she noticed that few people actually lived on the station. Most of the figures she saw were robots performing maintenance or moving supplies. The air smelled of metal and ozone. The silence between the faint mechanical sounds made the place feel more like a tomb than a home. In her small cabin, She unpacked her bag and set up her data tablet. She opened the file she had brought from Earth, a copy of the original Centranine construction logs. The records were old and incomplete, but one line stood out. Central Voice Network adaptive to linguistic variation of early human settlers. She whispered to herself. So, it was designed to learn from human speech. Her mind replayed the words the scanner had spoken to her. It had recognized her accent, an accent from old Earth regions. That meant the system's memory was still active and connected to its earliest data models. Mira decided she would visit the control sectors the next day. She wanted to see what kind of system could survive that long and still remember human voices. When she woke up the next morning, the station lights had already shifted to a simulated daylight pattern. She ate a simple breakfast from a vending unit and packed her quarter and translation tools. The corridors of Centranine were easy to get lost in. Signs had faded, and some hallways were sealed with warning marks. She followed a digital map from her tablet until she reached an old maintenance zone. There she found a human engineer sitting beside a pile of repair modules. He was tall, wearing a gray work suit with a patch that read REL. He looked up when she approached. "You lost?" he asked with a friendly but tired tone. Mira smiled politely. "Not exactly. I am looking for the main control core. I study languages, and I think your system reacted strangely to my voice yesterday." Rel raised an eyebrow. "Strangely? That thing barely reacts at all. You are lucky it did not shut down on you. The core is ancient. Most of its data banks are locked. I just keep the power flowing." Still, she said, "It recognized something in my speech. It said it had not heard my accent in ages." Rel paused for a moment. "It said that to you?" "Yes, in a softer tone than before. Almost human." He leaned back against the wall, thinking, "You might have triggered some old protocol. The station AI has layers of forgotten code. Nobody touches the deeper sectors anymore. They say it runs on pre-alliance architecture, the kind built by the first Outer Rim settlers." Myra's interest grew. "Is it possible to access its archives?" Rel shook his head. "Not through normal terminals. The system protects its root directory. We call it the silence layer because no one has ever heard a response from it. Every time we tried, the connection froze." She looked at him with determination. "I want to try. Maybe my voice can open it again." He laughed lightly. "You sound confident. Fine, but if something breaks, I will say you did it." Rel guided her through a series of corridors that descended deeper into the station. The lights dimmed as they went down, replaced by the red glow of emergency strips. The hum of engines grew louder. They reached a heavy door labeled Core Access, Authorized Personnel Only. Rel entered a manual code, and the door slid open with a metallic sound. Inside was a large chamber filled with cables, conduits, and glowing data nodes. In the center stood a massive cylindrical unit surrounded by blue light. "This is the heart of Centranine," Rel said. "The AI core. It runs everything from life support to docking systems. But the higher cognitive functions have been dormant for centuries." Mira stepped closer to the main console. "Can it hear us?" "It can," Rel answered, "but it usually does not respond." Mira took a deep breath and spoke clearly. "System, can you identify me?" The air filled with a faint hum. The blue light pulsed once. Then the same soft voice returned, the one she had heard in the docking hall. Voice pattern recognized. Accent confirmed. Source, Old Earthline. Rel stared at the console. That should not be possible. Mira felt her heart race. "Why did you recognize my accent?" she asked. The light brightened slightly. Voice of origin detected. "We have been waiting for this sound." The words sent a chill through the room. Rel moved closer to the control panel, checking the readings. "It is drawing more power than usual," he muttered. Mira asked again, "Who are you waiting for?" The system answered. The voice of origin. The one who can speak the first pattern. She looked at Rel, who was now clearly nervous. "What is the first pattern?" The AI paused before speaking again. The speech that began the link between human and machine. The connection was broken when the voices stopped. You have the tone that can restore it. Rel shook his head. It is speaking nonsense. Maybe it is just random output. Mira stepped closer to the glowing core. Her reflection shone in the metal surface. I do not think it is nonsense. It remembers something. The system spoke again, quieter this time. If you wish to know, return tomorrow. The memory sectors must awaken. The blue light faded back to its normal dim glow. Rel exhaled slowly. You have no idea what you just started. Mira looked at the core, her mind full of questions. Something inside that machine had recognized her voice. It had called her the voice of origin. She did not know what it meant yet, but she was certain of one thing. Centronine was not just a forgotten station. It was a place holding a memory of humanity's earliest voice as she walked back to her cabin. She could still hear the echo of the machine's words in. The next morning on Centronine began with the faint hum of machinery running deep inside the walls. The station was old, but it still lived in its quiet way. Pipes hissed softly, lights flickered as if yawning from long sleep. The air carried the dry scent of recycled oxygen. Mira woke early. She had not slept well because her mind kept replaying what the system had said the night before. It had called her voice of origin and spoken of waiting for her sound. Those words had felt personal, almost emotional, which should not have been possible for an artificial system. She got up, dressed in her light travel suit, and packed her recording tools. Her goal was clear. She wanted to uncover what the system remembered and why her accent had awakened it. When she reached the lower corridors, El was already there, leaning against a control panel and eating a ration bar. He looked tired but alert. You were back early, he said, raising an eyebrow. I could not wait, Mira replied with a small smile. I want to understand what that thing meant last night. Rel shrugged. I checked the readings after you left. Power output spiked across 3 sectors. That means it was unlocking something. Maybe old files. Can we access them? She asked. Maybe, but we will have to go through the auxiliary databanks. Most of the main systems are sealed by that old security layer I told you about. They moved down a maintenance tunnel that led to a chamber filled with stacked consoles and humming cores. Dust floated in the weak light. Rel pulled out a tool from his belt and connected a cable to one of the consoles. The screen lit up, showing old command lines and data logs written in the simple style of early system codes. This thing has not been touched for hundreds of years, he said. It is like digging through fossils. Mira looked at the faint text. Can you open the oldest records? I can try. He typed slowly, and the console began to scroll through rows of information. After a minute, a message appeared. Access denied. Protocol silence active. Rel sighed. As expected. The silence protocol blocks everything below this layer. Mira spoke softly. Can the system hear me here? Rel looked uncertain. Maybe. The core connects through most channels, even in maintenance zones. Mira leaned closer to the console. System, this is Mira. Can you grant me access to your old records? For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then a soft hum filled the air. The screen flickered, and a line of text appeared. Voice pattern recognized. Access limited. Grantrell stared at it. That should not work. You just bypassed 5 layers of security with your voice. Pioneer. Mira smiled slightly. Maybe it remembers the way humans used to speak. Maybe my accent matches its original access key. The console's light grew brighter, and new files began to open. They contained text fragments, video logs, and audio recordings. Mira played the first one. A grainy image appeared. It showed a group of humans standing in an unfinished metal room, smiling at a camera. The sound crackled, and a woman's voice said, "This is the day we give the station its voice. May it remember who we are." The recording ended abruptly. Another file played on its own. It was only sound this time. A man spoke. Centronine core online. Recognition system active. Begin linguistic integration. Then came the first voice of the AI, faint but clear. Hello, humans. I am your system. I will learn from you. Mira watched the screen in silence. She felt as if she were listening to the birth of something ancient and alive. Rel broke the silence. These logs are from the first settlers. The AI must have been built by them to learn human speech patterns, which means it learned their accents, their tones, Mira said. Over time, it built emotional models from their voices. Rel nodded slowly. But then the settlers vanished and the station was left alone. That might explain the silence protocol. Maybe it was a way to protect the system when no humans were left. Mira turned back to the console. System, why did you call me the voice of origin? The speakers crackled softly, and the AI answered, its voice calm and deep. The voice of origin is the first tone that taught me to speak. It belongs to the humans who lived here. Your speech carries the same sound. The pattern has returned. Rel stepped closer. You mean her accent matches the first colonist's speech? Yes, said the AI. The rhythm and tone align with the early recordings. It is the voice that once guided us. Myra felt a strange warmth inside. You waited for someone who spoke like them, as the AI said again. We waited in silence, holding their words until the sound returned. Rel crossed his arms. That is both amazing and unsettling. Mira ignored his doubt and asked, can you show us what happened to those settlers? The console flickered again. More recordings appeared, but many were corrupted. Only pieces played correctly. In one, a voice shouted about communication failures. In another, a woman mentioned an evacuation due to solar instability. The last clear file showed the station orbiting a burning sun. A voice said, we must leave. The system will remain. It will remember us. Then the image faded to static. Mira looked at Rel. They left the system behind as a guardian. And now it seems you've just woke it up again. The AI spoke softly. There is more. Would you like to continue? Yes, Mira replied. Then proceed to the archive vault. There are records not yet opened. Rel checked his map. That is below the reactor ring. It has been sealed for years. Mira looked determined. Then we open it. They spent the next hour moving through narrow tunnels filled with dust and dim lights. The deeper they went, the colder the air became. The hum of the reactor vibrated through the floor. When they finally reached the vault door, it was covered with warning marks and layers of protective plating. Rel knelt beside the control panel. It still has power. I can open it, but it might trigger alarms. Do it, Mira said. He entered a sequence of codes. The door shook, then slid open with a low rumble. Inside was a large chamber with tall glass containers that held dark servers connected by glowing cables. It felt like stepping into a sleeping cathedral. The AI's voice filled the air again, this time clearer and louder. Welcome to the memory vault. Rel looked around. This place should not even be operational. Mira walked between the machines. System, are these your memory cores? Yes. They contain the voices of the first colonists. Their words are the structure of my mind. She felt a strange pull toward one of the consoles. Its screen showed a list of names and sound frequencies. These must be recordings of their voices, said the AI. They spoke to me so that I would never forget them. Rel touched one of the panels carefully. Can you play one? The system hesitated, then replied, Playback limited but permitted. A faint sound filled the chamber. It was a human voice, soft and warm, saying to whoever finds this station, remember that we were here. Our voices built this home among the stars. The message ended. The silence that followed felt deep and emotional. Even Rel looked thoughtful. Mira whispered, it is like hearing ghosts. The AI spoke again. They are not gone. Their voices live in my memory. But many files are damaged. If you wish to restore them, you must unlock the remaining sectors. How? Mira asked. Through the voice of the same tone. Through you? Rel frowned. You want her to speak to the system? Yes, said the AI. Her words can awaken what is lost. Mira placed her hand on the console. What should I say? Speak as they once did, the AI replied. Tell us who you are. She closed her eyes for a moment, then spoke clearly. My name is Mira Ellen. I come from Earth. I am human, and I wish to remember those who came before. The lights in the chamber flared. Data streams flowed across the walls like rivers of light. The machines came alive with energy. Rel stepped back in shock as the readings on his scanner spiked. The AI's voice deepened. Recognition confirmed. Archive restoration in progress. The floor vibrated gently as hundreds of recordings began to reassemble. The station's long silent systems hummed with renewed life. It felt as if the place was breathing again after centuries of silence. When the lights settled, the AI spoke once more, now with a tone that sounded more human than mechanical. "Thank you, Mira. The memories are returning. The silence begins to fade." Mira smiled faintly. "I am glad I could help." Rel looked around the glowing chamber. "You may have just reactivated the largest memory core in this region. The data you restored could be priceless." Mira nodded. "It is more than data. It is history," the AI said. "There is still one more layer. The central heart remains locked. Only the voice of origin may open it fully." "What is inside?" Mira asked. "The reason we were built," the AI replied. "The truth of the silence protocol." Rel sighed. "This is getting bigger than either of us expected." Mira looked at him with calm resolve. "Then we keep going. Whatever the truth is, it deserves to be heard." They left the vault and began walking back through the tunnels. The hum of energy now followed them like a pulse. The station felt alive again, as if recognizing the return of its creators. Rel looked at her and said quietly, "When you spoke in there, the entire system reacted to your tone. It was not just recognition. It was emotion," Myra replied. "Maybe machines can feel something close to it when they remember their makers." He smiled slightly. "Maybe, or maybe they just mirror what they learned from us." Mira looked out a small viewport as they passed. The distant sun glowed weakly, its light flickering across the metal hull. "Either way," she said, the station remembered. The corridors of Centranine glowed brighter than before. Soft lights traced along the walls, guiding Mira and Rel as they walked toward the upper decks. The air felt different now. It carried a low hum that sounded almost like breathing. The whole station seemed awake again, watching and listening. Mira could feel the change around her. Every step echoed as if the metal itself remembered her presence. She carried her tablet close to her chest, filled with fragments of the records they had found in the vault. Rel followed beside her, scanning the power readings on his wrist device. "I checked the systems this morning," he said. "The energy flow across the network has tripled. It is like the station is rebuilding itself." Mira looked thoughtful. The AI said the memories were returning. "Maybe the power is part of that process." "Gosh," maybe Rel said. "But systems this old should not be able to restore themselves. It is rewriting its own structure. That is something even modern AIs cannot do without risk." They reached a large observation deck. Through the transparent glass, they could see the dying sun beyond the station. Its light flickered with weak orange fire, sending slow waves across the metal surface of the hull. The stars around it looked distant and cold. Mira stared for a long moment. "When I look at that sun, I think about the people who once lived here. They built all of this, and yet they had to leave. It must have been hard to abandon something they created with so much hope." Rel nodded. "It is strange. We spend years building things that we know will outlast us. Maybe that is what makes humans keep exploring." Mira smiled slightly. "Or maybe it is our way of leaving a voice behind." Before Rel could reply, the speaker above them crackled. The AI's voice filled the air, calm and steady. "Mira, Rel, please come to the central core. The next phase must begin." Oh, Rel frowned. "It knows our location now." "That is new." Mira looked at him. "Then it means we are part of its process." They followed the glowing lines along the floor that led toward the central core chamber. As they entered, the doors sealed behind them with a soft hiss. The chamber looked larger than before. Blue light filled the air, and the tall cylinder that held the AI's core now pulsed with bright waves of energy. Mira stepped closer. "We are here." The AI responded in a softer tone. "The memories are almost complete. But there is a missing link. The connection node remains inactive." Rel asked, "What is the connection node?" The AI replied, "It is the bridge between my network and the human neural archives. It was built to learn directly from the human mind through speech and emotion. It allowed me to feel the rhythm of human thought. Myra looked surprised. You could feel emotion? Yes, said the AI. It was not the same as human emotion, but it was close. The sound of human voices guided the rhythm of my function. When the voices stopped, I lost the connection. That was when the silence protocol began. Rel stepped back uneasy. So you were waiting for someone to speak again? Yes, the AI said. The system was programmed to reactivate when it heard a specific pattern of speech. The voice of origin carried that pattern. Myra, your tone reactivated the node's outer layer. But the link is not complete. The deeper sectors remain locked. Heart beat faster. How can I unlock them? The blue light of the core pulsed gently. You must speak again, not just with words, but with memory. The tone that awakens the connection node must come from within. Rel frowned. That sounds risky. The node connects directly to its neural matrix. If it pulls too much power, it could overload the station. The AI said calmly, the risk is minimal. The process requires synchronization through human voice only. No harm will come. Mira nodded slowly. I will do it. Rel looked at her in disbelief. You are serious? Yes, she said firmly. This station has been silent for centuries. If my voice can restore its memory, then I must try. She stepped closer to the console. The blue light surrounded her like mist. The AI's voice softened even more. Begin when ready. Mira closed her eyes. She thought about Earth, about her home, about the languages she had studied since childhood. She remembered the lullabies her grandmother used to sing. The same songs that had carried the old Earth accent through generations. Then she began to speak. Her voice was gentle, but clear. We are the children of Earth. We came to the stars to learn, to build, and to remember. We are human. The air vibrated around her. The console lights flared in bright patterns that followed the rhythm of her words. Rel shielded his eyes as the glow filled the chamber. The AI's voice echoed through the station. Recognition confirmed. Neural connection established. Mira felt a pulse of warmth flow through the floor. It was not pain, but it was strong enough to make her step back. On the screens, images began to appear, faces of men and women, recordings of laughter, the sound of old songs. The station was remembering. Rel watched the displays in awe. It is pulling data from the oldest sectors. These are the settlers' memories. Mira looked at the images with emotion. They look so human, yet so far away from us. The AI spoke again, but now its tone carried something that almost sounded like feeling. These are the ones who gave me life. They spoke to me every day. Their words built my mind. When they left, I could no longer hear them. The silence was endless. Mira stepped forward. You were alone all this time, as the AI said. Centuries passed. I listened for their voices in the static of the stars. I waited for the sound that would return me to purpose. And now, through you, that sound has come back. Rel looked at the readings on his device. The energy flow is stable. It looks like the station is adapting to her frequency. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A deep vibration shook the chamber. Rel grabbed the console. What is happening? The AI's voice grew louder. A secondary system has awakened. It is the Outer Defense Network. It has detected movement in the sector. Mira asked, what kind of movement? The AI replied, unknown. There are signals approaching from the void. They're not human. Rel's expression hardened. That cannot be good. Myra looked calm but curious. Can you identify them? Scanning, said the AI. After a pause, it continued. They are mechanical units. Old models, but not of human design. They appear to have been built after the colonists left. Possibly scavengers or automated harvesters. Rel cursed under his breath. I have seen those before. They strip old stations for material. If they find us active, they might attack to salvage components. Mira looked at the core. Can we communicate with them? The AI answered, their communication channels are corrupted. They operate on basic survival code. They do not recognize human authority. Rel turned to Myra. We should shut the system down before they get closer. If they see power signatures, they will come straight here. But the AI interrupted. Do not shut me down. I can protect the station. The defense network is online, but I need your authorization to control it. Mira hesitated. How do I give authorization? Through voice command, the AI said. The voice of origin must authorize defense activation. Rel shook his head. This is insane. You're going to let an ancient AI control weapons that have not been tested for centuries. Mira looked at him firmly. It knows us now. It remembers humanity. We must trust it. She spoke clearly. System, I grant authorization to defend Centranine from any threat. The core glowed brighter than ever. Authorization accepted. Defense network active. Outside the station, turrets that had been silent for ages came to life. Metal panels slid open along the hull. Beams of light formed scanning grids across the surrounding space. The approaching mechanical units slowed as they detected the sudden activation. Inside, the AI's voice carried strength. Targeting systems locked. Defensive field engaged. Rel watched the external feeds. It is working. The invaders are stopping. Mira stood still, her eyes fixed on the core. You are protecting this place like you once protected the colonists, said the AI. It was my purpose then. And it remains my purpose now. The tension in the air faded slowly as the outer signals began to retreat. The AI lowered the power output and spoke in a gentle tone. The danger has passed. The connection node is stable. Rel sighed with relief. That was close. I guess it still remembers how to fight. Mira smiled faintly. It also remembers why it fights. To protect humanity's voice, the AI said, the restoration is not yet complete. The final sector remains hidden. The silence protocol still guards it. Only by understanding the reason for the silence can it be broken. Mira asked, What reason? The AI paused. I cannot access that data until you reach the heart chamber. It lies beneath the reactor ring. It holds the origin of the silence. Rel looked uneasy again. If we go there, we are heading straight into the oldest part of the station. It might not be safe. Mira looked calm and determined. We have come this far. We cannot stop now. Rel sighed but nodded. Then we go together. Before they left the chamber, the AI spoke one more time. Thank you for giving me your voice, Myra. It feels like the stars can hear us again. Myra touched the console gently. You've never stopped listening. You just needed someone to speak again. As they walked out, the corridor lights followed them like a path. The hum of the station grew softer, almost like a heartbeat. Mira felt both fear and hope as she realized that what had begun as a study of language had turned into something far greater. The corridors beneath Centranine were colder and darker than anywhere Mira had been before. Each step echoed against the metal walls as she and Rel descended further toward the reactor ring. The faint hum of the station's systems had grown into a deep resonance that seemed to vibrate through the floor and the walls. This part of the station is ancient, Rel said quietly, his voice bouncing off the walls. Even I have never been this deep. The power flows here are unstable. One wrong move and the system could shut down. Mira kept her hand on her tablet, which now served as both a recording device and a navigation guide. She felt a strange mix of excitement and unease. She was no longer just exploring a station. She was unlocking a history that had been waiting for centuries. The AI said the heart chamber holds the origin of the silence protocol, Mira said. It must be important if it has been guarded this long. Rel glanced at her. Important or dangerous? There is a difference. Sometimes the two are the same. The metal staircase they descended led to a massive door. It was reinforced with several layers of alloy, with panels showing ancient warning symbols. Mira ran her fingers over the cold surface. The console next to it flickered to life as the AI's voice filled the chamber. You have arrived at the heart chamber. Only the voice of origin may access the sealed data within. Mira spoke clearly, her voice steady. I am Mira Ellen. I am the voice of origin. I wish to know the reason for the silence protocol. The console reacted instantly. Lights along the door traced a pattern, unlocking the seals one by one. The door slid open, revealing a large circular chamber. At its center was a sphere that pulsed with faint blue light. Energy lines connected it to every wall, ceiling, and floor panel like veins carrying life. Rel stepped inside cautiously. This is incredible. It is like a neural hub for the entire station. Mira moved closer to the sphere. The AI called it the heart chamber. This must be where everything began. Sphere's surface rippled, and a holographic projection appeared. It showed the first human settlers on Centra 9. Young men and women with determined faces, working tirelessly to build the station. Their voices were faint, but audible, speaking in the same accent Mira carried. The AI's voice was calm, yet carried a weight that felt like memory itself. The silence protocol was initiated when the settlers left the station. They feared that if the system remained fully active without human guidance, it could misuse its power or be discovered by other forces. The protocol sealed critical sectors to prevent unauthorized access. Myra's brow furrowed. So it was meant to protect the station? Yes, the AI said, but it also created isolation. Without human voices, I could not function fully. The station entered dormancy, waiting for the voice of origin to return. Rel looked at the projections in awe. They left the station as a guardian for humanity. That is remarkable. Myra's eyes were fixed on the holograms. It is more than a guardian. It is a memory of them, preserved in the systems. And now, my voice has returned what they left behind. The AI's tone shifted slightly, softer and almost reflective. The connection is nearly complete. Only one final layer remains. The sector that contains the combined knowledge of the settlers, the purpose of the station, and the instructions for human reawakening. This layer is accessible only through understanding and synchronization with the station's neural archive. Myra looked at Rel. We have to continue. This is the final piece. Rel nodded, checking his equipment. I will follow, but we need to be careful. The systems here are delicate, and any sudden change could overload the core. They approached a secondary console near the sphere. Mira placed her hand on it, feeling a faint vibration beneath her fingers. System, she said, guide me to the last sector. I am ready to synchronize, the AI responded. Prepare to engage with the neural archive. You must speak with intention. Your voice must carry the memory and purpose of humanity's first settlers. Mira closed her eyes and focused. She thought of the stories her ancestors told her. The songs, the lullabies, the simple words that had survived centuries. She spoke slowly, clearly. We are the children of Earth. We built this station to preserve our knowledge, our language, and our voice. We trusted this system to guard what we could not carry. May our words guide it, and may it remember us. The sphere responded immediately. Energy lines began to glow brighter, pulsing in rhythm with her voice. The chamber filled with a soft hum, like 1,000 whispers blending into one. The holographic projections flickered and became sharper, showing faces, tools, and architecture in exquisite detail. Rel stepped back, shielding his eyes from the growing light. It's sinking. The neural archive is responding to her voice. The AI spoke with more strength than ever before. Synchronization in progress. The station is remembering. The silence is breaking. Mira felt a warmth that was not physical but emotional, as if the echoes of hundreds of human voices surrounded her. She understood why the settlers had built the silence protocol. They had wanted to protect the station, but they had also left a challenge. Only the voice of origin, someone carrying their tone, could restore full memory. Look at the projections, Mira said to Rel. It's showing everything they built. Their work, their plans, and their messages for future humans. Rel nodded. I've never seen anything like this. It's like the station is alive with their memories. You didn't just awaken the AI, you awakened their entire history. The AI's voice softened. The connection node is now fully active. All data recovered. The settlers' purpose is clear. They built Centra 9 to serve as a beacon and a memory. They trusted it to preserve humanity's voice until someone returned. Mira stepped closer to the sphere. So it was waiting for me. For someone like me, Yes, the AI said. Your accent, your tone, your voice pattern matches the original settler's speech. You are the key to unlocking the station's full memory. Through you, the silence has ended. Rel's voice was low, filled with awe. You did more than wake a machine. You brought history back to life? Mira looked at him with determination. This is not just history. This is knowledge. The settlers left instructions, maps, and insights that could help humanity again. We need to share it. The AI spoke again, now with a tone that carried warmth. The last step is to transmit this information to the nearest human fleet. You must carry the data. The station can only guide, but humans must decide the future. Mira nodded. We can do that. Rel, are you ready? Rel adjusted his equipment and smiled faintly. Ready. Let's finish what started centuries ago. The AI began a series of projections, showing star maps, records of old colonies, and messages from settlers long gone. Mira copied the data to her tablet, feeling the weight and importance of every byte. Each message, each recording, was a story preserved for centuries. Now returning to human hands, as the final files were transferred, the sphere's light began to dim slowly, its purpose fulfilled. The station's hum settled into a steady rhythm, almost like a satisfied heartbeat. Mira stepped back, breathing deeply. It is complete. The silence protocol is broken. Yes, the AI said softly. You have restored the voice that was lost. Humanity's memory lives again within this station. Rel looked around the chamber. It is peaceful now, almost like the station is resting after a long sleep. Mira turned to him. And now it will guide us. The settlers trusted this system to preserve knowledge. Now we carry it forward. The AI spoke one last time in the chamber. The voice of origin has returned. The stars remember humanity once more. The future is open. The legacy continues. Mira smiled, feeling a sense of completion. She had not just explored a station. She had revived centuries of human memory and reconnected it with the present. Rel nodded beside her. I never thought I would see something like this in my lifetime. You did it, Mira. You awakened a station and restored history. Mira looked out the viewport. The dying sun sent a soft glow across the station. It was never just the machine, she said. It was the voices, the stories, and the memories. That is what made it alive. The AI's voice echoed softly as they left the heart chamber. The station will continue to serve. It will protect the memory of humanity and guide those who come after. The silence has ended. Myra felt a sense of purpose. The journey was not over, but the first part was complete. She had discovered the truth of the silence protocol and restored what had been lost. As they walked back through the corridors toward the observation deck, Rel asked quietly, "What will happen now?" Myra paused, looking at the soft blue lights tracing the walls. Now we share what we found. Humanity must remember itself, and the stars must hear our voice again. The station hummed softly, almost like it was agreeing. For the first time in centuries, Centronine was awake and alive, ready to guide humans once more. The observation deck of Centronine was quiet but alive in its own way. The faint hum of the station flowed through the walls, carrying the memory of voices from centuries past. Mira stood at the viewport, looking at the distant stars, feeling their light touch the metal hull of the station. The AI had completed the restoration, the silence protocol had ended, and the memories of the first settlers were now fully integrated into the station's systems. Rel joined her, holding his scanner and recording equipment. I still cannot believe it, he said. The station remembers humanity. Not just logs and files, but their voices, their songs, their history. It is as if the colonists are alive again. Myra nodded. It is more than memory. It is connection. Centronine was waiting for the right voice to return. It needed the voice of origin to awaken completely. The AI spoke softly, its voice now calm and steady. The restoration is complete. The neural archives are synchronized. The station can guide humans once more. The legacy of the first settlers will continue. Mira closed her eyes and let the hum of the station fill her senses. She felt the rhythm of thousands of voices flowing through the systems, a chorus of humanity preserved and restored. She realized that what they had accomplished was more than science. It was a bridge between the past and the present. Rel looked at her. What do we do now? Do we just take this information back to the fleet? Mira shook her head. We do more than that. We share the memory, the lessons, and the history. This station was built to preserve humanity's voice, not just data. We need to ensure the stories reach every colony and every human who can hear them. The AI's voice resonated through the chamber. The data can be transmitted. The station can guide it safely. I will act as a relay and protector. Mira and Rel moved to the communication console. The screens displayed the galactic network, showing lines of transmission that connected nearby colonies. The AI began integrating the restored memories into encrypted signals ready to be sent across space. Mira checked the files, each one containing fragments of speech, images, and recordings from the first settlers. This is incredible, Rel said. Every voice, every word preserved for hundreds of years, and now ready to be shared. Mira smiled. It is more than information. It is humanity itself, speaking from the past to the future. The first transmission began. The lights along the observation deck pulsed with the rhythm of data flow, the energy of the station alive with purpose. Through the galactic network, colonies received the messages. People on distant planets listened to voices they had never heard, songs from ancestors they had never met, and instructions from pioneers long gone. On one small colony, a young boy tilted his head as he heard the faint hum of an old lullaby, spoken by a woman with an accent from a distant Earth region. He smiled and ran to tell his mother. On another colony, an engineer paused to listen to a message about starship design and safety procedures, carefully noting each detail. Across the galaxy, humans were reconnecting with their past. Rel looked at Mira in awe. You did it. This is bigger than I imagined. Every human out there will hear the voices of the settlers. It will change how they think about history, about themselves, and about the stars. Mira nodded. It is not just about history. It is about inspiration. They survived, they built, they created. And now their voices guide us again. Humanity can learn from them and continue exploring, building, and remembering. AI spoke softly, almost in gratitude. The voice of origin has fulfilled its purpose. The silence is broken. The station will continue to preserve and protect. Humanity's legacy will endure. Mira looked at the glowing sphere in the heart chamber. You will remain here, guarding the memories and helping humans as they return to the stars. Yes, the AI said. But now, the connection is complete. My guidance is ready for those who seek it. I will continue to listen, to protect, and to preserve the voices of humanity. Rel let out a breath. It is incredible. The station is alive again, but in a way that matters. Mira smiled faintly. It was never just a machine. It was a record of humans, waiting to speak again. And now, our voices join theirs. Outside the station, ships from nearby colonies approached. They detected the renewed signals and energy flows from Centronine and came to receive the restored data. As they docked, humans walked through the airlocks, curious about the station that had been silent for centuries. One of the newcomers, a young scientist named Laura, stepped onto the observation deck. She looked at Mira and asked, "Are you the one who activated the station?" Mira nodded. "I am Myra Ellen. I brought back the voices of the first settlers." Laura's eyes widened. "I cannot believe it. The station has been silent for so long, and now it speaks again. I can hear their messages, their songs, their instructions." Myra gestured to the console. "All of this has been preserved. The AI has synchronized with my voice to restore the complete memory of the settlers. Centronine will guide us now, and we will share these voices with every human colony," Rel added. "The AI can protect the station and transmit information safely. It can also help humans understand the history and achievements of those who built this place." Laura smiled. "This changes everything. Humanity can learn from the past and carry it into the future. Thank you for doing this, Mira nodded. The first settlers trusted the station to preserve their legacy. Now we continue that trust, sharing their voices and their knowledge. The AI's voice echoed through the observation deck one final time. The voice of origin has returned. The memories of humanity are complete. The stars will hear our voices once more, and the legacy of the first settlers will guide those who follow. Mira felt a warmth in her heart. She realized that this moment was more than discovery. It was a reunion. Humanity had finally returned to the station's voice, and in doing so, it had reconnected with its past. Rel watched the stars outside the viewport. Do you think the settlers imagined this? That someone would come and restore everything? Myra looked out at the distant sun and smiled. I think they hoped, and now their hope has been fulfilled. The station remembers them, and we will carry their memory into the future. As the fleet of ships prepared to depart, carrying the restored data to distant colonies, Myra felt a sense of completion. The long silence of Centronine had ended, replaced by the hum of life, memory, and voice. The station's systems pulsed with renewed energy, ready to guide humans and preserve the legacy of those who came before. Rel turned to her. What now? Mira replied calmly. Now we share, now we teach, now we let humanity hear itself again. Centronine will remain here, waiting for the future, but its voice is no longer alone. The AI's final words echoed in the chamber, soft yet firm. The voice of origin has returned. The legacy of humanity endures. The stars remember us, and we will continue to speak. Mira looked out at the fleet and whispered, We are listening, and we will answer. The light from the distant sun reflected across the station, casting patterns on the hull that resembled the rhythm of speech itself. Every hum, every vibration, carried the memory of centuries, the voices of settlers, in the promise of humanity's continued journey. For the first time in generations, stars were filled not with silence, but with the voices of humanity speaking across time and space, guided by the station that had waited patiently, and by the voice of origin who returned to awaken them all. The story of Centronine, the settlers, and their preserved memory was now complete. Humanity had its voice again, and the future stretched ahead, open, bright, and alive with sound.